Welcome to the Great American Collectible Show, seen Wednesdays on the Sports Collectors Daily Facebook page and the Great American Collectibles Facebook page. You can also listen to us on iHeartRadio, Pandora, and Spotify. The Great American Collectibles Show is brought to you by the National Sports Collectors Convention and Sports Collectors Daily. Tonight's headlines are brought to you by Sports Collectors Daily. For all your hobby news, features, and more, go to sportscollectorsdaily.com. And now your host, Tom Zappola, and Red Sox Hall of Famer, Rico Petrocelli.
Oh, we on?
We're on.
Oh, wow.
Welcome, everyone, to the Great American Collectibles Show. Tom Zappola, Red Sox Hall of Famer, Rico Petrocelli. We have a really good show today because we've got some guests that we absolutely love. You can see their beautiful faces right now. Mr. Wonderful from Heritage Auctions, our good friend Derek / Grady. And another good friend, one of the three heads of the National Sports Collectors Convention, Philly Show, CSA, our good friend Joe DRELICH. How are you, boys?
Doing well.
We are fantastic.
Geez, I hope we're not keeping you guys up.
Yeah, no, they're
Not at all.
very excited.
Oh, my God. You guys sound like you both came from a wake.
It's like you've been waiting for a half hour or so.
Yeah, we're just waiting a little bit here.
Well, my fourth cough drop.
All right, listen, we have a good show. Behind the scenes, we had some technical difficulties, so we're recording the show a little later, but that's okay. Really important, though.
It's you.
Don't forget, no, it wasn't me. Don't forget that you can listen to this show now on your favorite podcast platform. Spotify, Alexa, iHeartRadio, WCAP Radio up in Boston. All of those great podcast platforms. Siri, if you're driving in your car, say, Siri, play the Great American Collectibles Show. If you're on your bathroom toilet, you can say, play the if you have your phone with you.
Right.
Do you ever do that?
Not really.
You don't?
No.
All right.
Never
I'm
once.
thinking about it.
All right.
In my car, play the Great American. Yeah.
Well, you can do that. You know, when you're driving down when you're picking up your $1 million consignments. Are you kidding?
Sure.
Derek, I got to tell you something, man. How do you guys do it with the consignments that you guys have? And Joe, you can chime in here. It's mind-boggling what your backlog is like. It's mind-boggling the stuff that you get and the stuff that you sell. I mean, how do you possibly accumulate all of that not cheap memorabilia and cards? How do you guys do it? Can you
a large staff? Yeah, I mean, honestly, like a large staff. If you see our Dallas office, it's like an Amazon campus at this point by the DFW airport, with all the categories under one roof. But in sports alone, if you just go, I don't know whether we have 30 people, but that doesn't include marketing. It doesn't include shipping. It doesn't include, customer service. Those are separate departments shared by all the categories. But no, honestly, to bring in, we have, I don't know how many consignment directors we have. Maybe we have, over 10. But, the names here are, there's a lot of significant names on the hobby people that were at other auction houses, grading companies. I mean, we have, I would say the New York Yankees payroll.
By the way,
or the Red Sox payroll, or the Anaheim,
either by the way,
whatever big market team.
In a little while, we're also going to be bringing in our good friend Lee BEHRENS from Sterling Sports Auction towards the end of the show. Lee's got
He has a big payroll too.
Yeah, him.
Lee BEHRENS. I think it's just him.
Something?
He's the big salary cap guy.
And that's why we wanted to bring Lee in, because obviously Lee is not Heritage, but you guys both have your niches, and it works. It really works very, very, very well. And by the way, we're also going to be doing another Gax moment in a little while.
Yeah.
Rico loves to watch my Gax moments.
Oh, God, I can't wait. What
was the last one you liked?
Well, 2 years ago.
I started it.
They just started. He can't name one. So
Joe,
he hasn't watched one.
Joe, you do what, 6, 8 shows a year?
Yeah, well,
Philly
between
show?
Philly and Chantilly, 6.
And
yeah,
Chantilly.
three down in Chantilly and 3 in Philly. Yep.
That's got to be
A lot of work.
a lot of work. My goodness. I mean, we've been to the show a few years ago, and then there's now the National. And
Yeah.
I mean, you got to have a pretty big staff yourself.
Absolutely. Are you doing it full time, Joe? I mean, are you doing other stuff besides?
He works as an engineer full time, and then he does this on the side. No, of course he does this full time.
Well, you know, he has his own little business too, where
These are major trade shows. I mean, Joe, speak to where
what I
were
mean.
we, say, but when you first got involved with the Philly show to now? Or, you know, even
Yeah.
let's talk about, I'm more familiar with the Philly show because I've been doing that for 25 years, right? Where 5 years ago, 7 years, you know, where it was maybe at a lower point to where it is now, to where we literally have dealers complaining about the lines for the bathrooms are too long, or you can't get to the concession. I mean, there's so many people, you know,
Yeah.
Friday to
Yeah.
Sunday.
100%. And, you know, prior to getting involved with Dave Hunt, who's still, you know, a partner in the show with me, I was set up right there with you, you know, for many, many years. So, yeah, I mean, 2018, we were over at the Valley Forge Casino, as you know, and 54,000 square feet, about 150 or so vendor booths. And, you know, things were not anywhere near like they are today. You know, the show was actually struggling. You know, quite honestly, it was reflective of the industry a little bit, but also, you know, that particular show, for whatever reason, you know, had just sort of lost a little luster. And, you know, at that show, before I got involved, there was about 40 empty booths. So that put it around 110, 120 booths, 2 tables per booth. So you're talking about a 200 table show. And fast forward to now, through a lot of hard work and good luck with, you know, the hobby and the resurgence, you know, now we're over at the Greater Oaks Convention Center, which is just 6 miles away from the Valley Forge Casino. We're in 100,000 square feet, so we basically doubled our footprint, and we're going to have this coming weekend at our next show over 500 dealer tables. So
It's unbelievable.
yeah,
Now,
quite a tremendous growth.
Joe,
Yeah.
you have a March
great.
show, correct?
Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we are working on Mr. Petroselli, and as you and I spoke, and Rico and I spoke, we're working on Mr. Petroselli and JM John Mallory, maybe flying down to do the show from there, and you know,
Talk about that.
yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
do a little signing. You can do the show. You and Mallory, I'm sure, will screw up the show, but that's
yeah.
okay. I mean, there's no problem there.
It's you know, but to me, it's both guys are amazing. I mean, you've seen the growth. You know, the industry, because my concern has been the industry, seeing it grow, and even now with, I mean, let's face it, inflation's high and a lot of people struggling and all that, but the industry is still going strong.
It's going unbelievable.
I mean, it's great.
You know, it really is. It's amazing. You know, I want to ask you guys both, and Derek, will start with you. I mean, obviously, I have been a collector for many, many, many years. Been writing for many, many, many years. There have been some amazing innovations in the hobby. I mean, like really some big innovations, technology, all of that. But there's been a lot of problems growing with the hobby. We've talked about the whole modern versus vintage thing, Derek. No, I understand that. But your thoughts on how the whole hobby has evolved over the years and some of the changes you've seen. Derek first.
I mean, I still, you know, you have to say the pandemic had a lot to do with it, which goes against every logical thought. I literally thought when there was a pandemic and they were shutting down the country when we couldn't go anywhere, one of the last things people would care about are baseball cards or sports memorabilia. And it literally went in the opposite direction, to where we've been hiring like crazy at Heritage. There are more collectors now than ever. There are faces. If you just go to trade shows, it's always been one of my barometers, is talking to the trade show promoters, and I happen to be good friends with several of them, Joe being one of my closest friends, and Jimmy Ryan, who runs the White Plains shows, and he's partners with Joe at the National. and other local show promoters, and the attendance is through the roof. Faces you've never seen before. People that are beginning collecting, people that collected in the 80s or 90s and then stopped. And then during the pandemic, I don't know if they went into their attics or their basements and they started to collect again. They went back to their parents or their grandparents' house and they found their cards and they started to, as opposed to just selling them, they started to collect again. We're signing up so many new bidders at Heritage, and I'm sure Lee Behrens will be able to speak to that at Sterling, how many new bidders he has. So the hobby somehow during the pandemic, I still can't put my finger on it, why that increased the business. I would think
People went online.
embraced the hobby.
Yeah, maybe that
Eric,
could be it.
People went online more, and they
Spent more
say,
time.
"Gee, I'm going to, go to Heritage, see what's happening there, and so on." And maybe some of the
They
others.
found collectibles again, and I think The Last Dance. I mean, so many people. That documentary couldn't have been put out at a better time. Everybody was home. I have talked to so many women that have watched it, kids, adults, older people, every ethnicity. Everybody has watched. I mean, I swear, everybody I know has watched The Last Dance, and that was a new resurgence on Michael Jordan and sports in general. And I think even I see what Joe's bringing in, the athletes. The lines for these athletes to buy signatures is at another level now too. I mean, Joe's just packing the place. I mean, and so the show promoters are bringing in. I mean, again, why wouldn't they? And these athletes aren't cheap either. I mean, Joe will be the first one to tell you that. I mean,
Especially the Hall of Famers.
They're bringing in Hall of Famers. They're bringing in cult heroes, people that should be in the Hall of Fame. And Joe's bringing in local Philly people, or athletes, and the lines for these people are crazy.
Who played in the 60s and 70s.
Hold on. Did you hear that? Hold on. Did you hear what he just said?
So go ahead, Joe. What's created the resurgence in the hobby here?
Did you catch what Petroselli just said? He just said, and I hope you're bringing in guys that played in the 60s and 70s.
He does. Joe definitely. They sign for free, by the way, Rico. Joe always has them on like Friday night for free.
Joe,
I want to fly down and you can sign for free.
I want to follow up on the same question, but add something to it. Derek is talking about the pandemic. We've had a huge influx in the hobby over the last several years of young collectors. Does the pandemic go hand in hand with this influx of young collectors, in your opinion, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that the resurgence is post-COVID. So, I definitely think it's a combination of the sneaker market also got hot, right around that time. And there were a lot of crossover younger guys that came in from that community. They liked the liquidity of it, and the ability to buy and sell. And then they also, by nature of youth and access to online social media, I think those things, play a key factor in it, and I think us as humans, just in general, realized, shows became in vogue again very quickly because we were all cooped up for such a long time. We did realize that we wanted to interact, and I've always been a believer in in-person transactions. There's just something about the art of the deal making. It's one thing to have the beauty of sitting on your couch at home watching a football game and scrolling through eBay or Heritage or an online platform to look at collectibles, and then there's a whole other avenue and way to just be in person with people that with people that you don't know, the hunt for the item. But back to the younger guys, I so many of them remind me of me, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, when I was doing the very same thing. And so was Derek. We were attending these shows, buying and selling for either profit or for our own collections. And it hasn't changed. It's the same. It really is. They have more tools available to them as far as value goes, and they can figure out. But I think that's the technology aspect of that has been a major enhancement in the liquidity. I think even though there's a lot of talk about the downturn in the market or prices going down or bubbles bursting in basketball cards, all in all,
And you
I
would
really
have
do
thought that some of
Yeah.
those people would leave. I believed when that crash happened that we would lose a lot of those collectors. And I have not seen, especially even at the Philly show, any less modern collectors. They took their lumps. They invested poorly. The market went down, and they're just shifting to other things. They didn't chase anybody out of the hobby. That's what I find. I was worried there'd be a resurgence. Then when that bubble burst, a bunch of people would flee. And that's
That's what's
not
happened
been
in
the
the
case.
past. Yeah, that's what's happened in the past.
Derek, I think
But I
you're
think
right.
there's real liquidity now.
Yeah,
I think there really is. Even though the market's lower, I think with technology, there's real liquidity. People understand that, whoever the flavor of the month player is, whatever sport it's in, there's still a price for that guy. And it may be a fraction of what it was, but it's still liquid. And it's different than a lottery ticket, or it's different than betting on a sports game, because that's a zero-sum game, right? You either win or you lose. And if you lose, there's a zero. But if you take a gamble on a modern player that's performing and it's performance-based, you're still not to zero unless the guy has like a career-ending injury or something horrific happens, like a Wander Franco situation. Wander Franco is actually an interesting one, not to get off topic here, but, from a technology side, obviously we're going to see what happened with everything, and everything's going to shake itself out in the social status of what has happened and the accusations that are there. The point being, from an investment standpoint, there are some people that are jumping in because the guy is such a fantastic ball player, and if by some chance this stuff isn't true or whatever the case may be, they're looking at it as an opportunistic.
Yeah, I
move,
can see that.
And technology allows you to do that.
I can see that. They're buying a penny stock right now, hoping that it becomes AT&T, which is nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
we talked about.
Yeah.
And you control your own, and it's you're the one making the decision, so you can blame nobody else. A lot of people were up on, were up during, what you could make. People were making money hand over fist. And so I do think some people took that for granted, how easy it was to make money. And then they held on too long and saw some of these cards just crash.
Good point.
But they know it was their fault. It was, like Joe said, the liquidity is incredible. There's so many places to go to sell.
We are
so
chatting.
many websites.
Yeah.
We're chatting with Derek Grady from Heritage Auctions, our good friend Joe DRELICH from CSA, the National, Chantilly, Joe's Variety Store, you name it, he's with it.
ECM Sports.
Exactly. But right now, oh, you're not going to do the little? Oh. Right now, we're going to do our segment On Deck with Rico.
Really?
Your questions answered on deck with Rico Patricelli.
Okay. I thought you were going to go right into it. All right. It's time for our segment On Deck with Rico, brought to us by our good friend Brian Dwyer and the great staff at REA Auctions. Don't forget to get your bid in by going to RobertEdwardAuctions.com. That's Robert Edward Auctions for extraordinary, and I repeat, extraordinary service and results. Rico, this is an interesting question that I can't see right now. Listen.
About chewing tobacco.
Here it is. I'm sorry. Yeah.
You try to look by scattering.
Well, actually, this was submitted. I gave him my copy. This was submitted by a gentleman whose name is Tony Fiorino. Very good question. I've never asked you this question.
He was at the 550,000
No, he wasn't
people that were.
But he gets a free T-shirt. He gets a T-shirt.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
All right. So here's the question. Number one, don't say yes, no, yes. I'm going to lay it all out.
Go ahead.
Did you chew tobacco? Did you chew sunflower seeds? Did you smoke?
No,
Either one of those
I didn't
three.
smoke. I chewed tobacco for a while.
How long?
A couple of seasons. Not every day. I mean, geez.
Did you ever swallow it?
No, I swallowed some of my high school coach gave me a plug tobacco. Try this. I'm chewing it, and I got so sick. Oh, God almighty. But not with that. We wrap gum around
in the
it.
pros.
So,
They all do that in the pros.
Yeah, a lot of the guys do that. And then, of course, Don Zimmer, you see his. But what's the other part?
Wait. I want
go ahead.
to the chewing tobacco. How many guys, like on your 75 team, how many tobacco chewers were there?
3 or 4.
That's it?
5 maybe. How
many smokers?
Yeah, there was some smokers. Yaz would come in between innings. Doug Griffin, a couple of the relief guys in '67. They really didn't smoke in the runway or anything like that, but they outside they smoked. but not many. There really weren't many.
And by the way, guys, chime in here if you want to add to the questions. What about sunflower seeds?
Yeah, sunflower seeds. I went to sunflower seeds, right, when I managed. This was after I retired, right? So eating sunflower seeds, those bags are this big, and you probably went through 3 of them. I mean,
A game.
Yeah, a game. You know, you're getting nervous.
Could you throw a handful in your mouth and be able to spit them out one at a time?
Yeah, it was great. But what happened? I gained like 5 pounds, maybe more. What the hell's going on? The salt. The
That was
salt. Good. Oh my God! I was having so much salt, and I gained weight. I said, "How the hell how is this happening?" You know, and it was from the salt.
Well, obviously, you never
They
lost.
do it now because guys might have chewed some tobacco, stopped, and the worst thing is the one in the sorry skull and all those.
Yeah.
Well, that's very dangerous.
All right, listen, we're going to take a break. We are chatting with Derek and Joe. We're going to take a break. When we come back, another Gax moment. Hang in there. We'll be right back.
Since 1996, Brian Drent and the staff at Denver's Mile High Card Company have led the charge in the collectibles hobby. Mile High is a full-service dealer specializing in buying and selling cards and offers a competitive consignment program for all collectors. Whether it be their computerized want list service, appraisals, or auction services, Mile High has it all. If you've been searching for a company with a selection of high-grade vintage 1888 to 1970 baseball cards and memorabilia that shares your passion, aim high, Mile High. Go to milehighcardco.com or call 303-840-2784 for more information.
This is Brian Drent, president of Mile High Card Company. Is your sports card and memorabilia collection properly insured? For easily replaced personal property, homeowners insurance is all most people need. But for prized possessions that you may have spent a lifetime collecting, it doesn't go nearly far enough. Collectables Insurance Services has been insuring for over 50 years. They offer a full range of protection and a $0 deductible at an affordable rate with no appraisals required. I know because they insure my collection. If you have a minute, go to collectinsure.com and learn more about insuring your personal card or memorabilia collection.
Hi, this is Dan from Memory Lane Auctions, here to remind you that the renowned Memory Lane Collectibles Company has served as a beacon of light to the collecting community for the past several decades. Indeed, folks, it has been our utmost privilege and pleasure to provide the most enthusiastic collectors with an abundance of the finest sports cards and memorabilia for America's most coveted sports personalities via our world-class auctions. Whether you choose either a private sale transaction or the auction route, Memory Lane cordially invites you to reach out to us to maximize the value of your prized possessions. Also, it is not just sales that we pride ourselves on being the best of the rest, because if you are seeking a particular keepsake for your esteemed gathering, we will be relentless in our quest to find that special piece to fulfill your collecting dreams. So no time to wait. Reach out to us today for the purposes of capitalizing on our unparalleled marketing capabilities. Simply pick up the phone and dial 877-606-5263. That's 877-606-LANE, or find us on the World Wide Web at www.memorylaneinc.com. Now is the time for your valued consignment to ultimately become another one of Memory Lane's record-setting prices.
How would you like to own the bat that was used by your favorite player when he hit that towering home run or game-winning base hit? Now look no further than JT Sports, specializing in the sale and authentication of professional game-used bats. As the official authenticators of professional model game-used bats for PSA DNA, JT Sports will guarantee the authenticity of any bat purchased from them. JT Sports also buys and sells game-worn uniforms, gloves, and baseball equipment. The unique quality of the collectible is what JT Sports is all about. Give them a call at 609-487-8003 or check them out at GameUseBats.com.
Okay, we are back. Joe and Derek. East Coast Sports Marketing and Hunt Auctions are pleased to present the Philadelphia Sports Collectors Show, the Philly Show, from Friday, September 22nd to Sunday, this coming Sunday, September 24th, held at the Greater Philadelphia Expo Center, Hall B, which, by the way, Rico, is at 100 Station Avenue, Oaks, Pennsylvania. You ever been there? Oaks,
Yeah.
Pennsylvania?
Oh, yeah. Many times.
You're full of crap. Shop over 300 of your favorite hobby dealer booths on over 1,000 square feet of sports collectibles heaven from the 1800s to present day. Major sports auction houses and third-party grading and authentication companies are on hand to assist your collecting needs. The Philly Show is family-friendly, and all kids 12 and under get in for free. Autographed guests include one of your old pals, Pete the Hit King Rose. He was a hell of a ball player.
You're not kidding.
Baseball Hall of Famers Jim Thome and Pedro Martinez, and 2023 inductee Scott Rowland. Basketball legend Dr. J. Julius Erving, who, by the way, he and Larry Bird had some great battles, and Allen Iverson, and many, many more. For more information, go to phillyshow.com. Remember, since 1975, the Philly Show is where it all started. All right, it is time now. Hold on. Look at the close-up on me. Nice. All right, it's time now for another Gax moment, brought to you each week by our good friend Paul Borges and PB Collectables, your neighborhood card shop. Go to pbcollectables.com to find that special card or piece of memorabilia. All right. This is my opinion. I didn't speak to any experts. This is just research that I've done. 4 underrated cards to invest in if you have the bacon. First thing that I always recommend is go to the PSA population report. If you're going to invest in a card, take a look at the card. At the very bottom, you're going to see the analytics. There's all kinds of graphs that shows what the card sold for at a PSA 2, PSA 3, 4, 5, 9, whatever. What I typically do, because I'm cheap, but I've always had luck, I go to the pop report, I look at the graphs, and if I'm going to invest in a card, I buy the PSA graded card just before the big jump, because I have found out that I've had luck. So if there's something that has a big jump from a 3 to a 4, I buy it at a 3. But if you're going to flip the card, you're wasting your money. So in my opinion, 4 underrated cards. Number 1, as you can see, the 1980 Ricky Henderson rookie card, number 482. Now, this card has been up and down. This card has picked up a lot of legs over the last several months, but this is a good card to invest in. If you want to flip it, you're wasting your money. Hold on to the card. That card has gone from a couple $100 to 6 figures. Nice jump. Just hold on to it. But keep in mind, and Derek, later on, we're going to talk about this, there's a lot of fakes out there, so you have to be very, very, very careful. My second recommendation, kind of an expensive card, but I still think it's a hell of an investment. The 1951 Bowman Mickey Mantle. Listen, no matter which way you cut it, this is his true rookie card. Still expensive. You're going to pay $8,000 or $10,000 or $9,000 in poor condition, but it's again, I am confident that it's the type of card that if you hold on to, don't try to flip it. Hold on to it as part of your portfolio. It's a good investment. It's a good investment. My third choice, the 1947 Bond-bred Jackie Robinson portrait with the facsimile auto. Now this, in my opinion, this card is part of a 13-set collection. This card came out in 1947. As far as I'm concerned, this is his true rookie card. Even at a low grade, you're going to pay some dough for it. If you can find it in a PSA 3 or 4, again, hold on to it. The big jump is, I believe, from a 3 to a 4 to a 5. So if you can buy it in a 3, 2, 1, whatever you can do, whatever you can afford, invest in the card. Again, this card can go from a few thousand to 5 figures. And again, in my opinion, this is his true rookie card, not the 48 Leaf. I know a lot of people are going to take issue. The last card I know I'm going to probably get some flack on. But this, if you look at the numbers, this is a very underrated card. The 1915-16 Sporting News Babe Ruth pitching for the Red Sox. Now, It's a very expensive card, as our friends at Heritage or Memory Lane, our auction houses can tell us. But if you compare this card with the T206 Honus Wagner, you're going to see some distinct differences. There are about 60 T206 Wagners. There are 121 or so 19, 15, 16 routes that have been graded. A T206 Wagner in a 1 or a 2 is going to cost you $1.5 million to $2.5 million. A PSA 1 in this Babe Ruth card with the pitching for the Red Sox is going to cost you upwards of $400,000 or $500,000, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. Point being is that if you take both cards based on the amount that are out there, there's about a 15-to-1 disparity in the price of both those cards. So in my opinion, if you have the iron that you can spend, or the bacon, this is a good card long-term to invest, because I still think, even though this card has greatly appreciated over the years, it's a great investment if you can afford it. And that's another Gax moment. Okay, let's get back to our guest. Mr. Grady, you have that perplexed look in your face, but we're not going to talk about it. And Joe DRELICH from the National, Chantilly, all of that good stuff. All right, I want to get your opinions, guys. I know you guys both have a look in your face, but I'm liking that.
We've just been here a long time.
I know you have. Derek, can we bring up that image, Chrissy? Do we have that image? We have an image, Joe, of Derek Grady. Now, look at this image, Rico. This is an image of Mr. Grady at, I believe it was Hef's house. And
Wow.
this is Derek Grady, your friend, Joe, your friend, with Slash's hat, and I'm assuming that's his guitar, correct?
That's a Slash used guitar and Slash's hat.
From Guns N' Roses. And that is your friend, Joe, Mr. Grady, doing a killer riff to, which song was it?
Sweet Child of Mine.
Sweet Child of Mine, which is a classic.
Awesome.
What are your thoughts on that, Joe?
Joe can't even see the image because I can't see it.
Oh, I know, but you will see the image when the show starts. When you
I think it's fantastic. I mean, why not? I mean,
Joe, I'll
first
text
of
you
all,
a
Guns N'
picture of it.
Roses. Is there anything better from the 80s / 90s than Guns N' Roses?
No,
I mean,
there
come
is.
on.
And Slash steals the show. I've seen him on this new tour over the last few years. I've seen him like 5 or 6 times, and Slash steals the show every time. I'm there to see Slash mainly.
Rico, what are your
Are
thoughts?
there many cards of music? You know, the musicians. Are that cards?
Joe, didn't they make like Pro Set had like a crappy product in the 90s? I don't even know what that stuff's worth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's just,
for sure. There's got to be something out there because a lot of that stuff has resurged, like we were talking about earlier. But I don't have my finger on the pulse of it. But I would imagine there is a Slash rookie card.
I'll tell you what. You know who's got some who's got some really, and you know, Derek. I think you know Bobby Livingston from RR Auctions. I think you've met Bobby. RR Auctions. You know, everybody has their specialties, but one of the things that they really do well in is music, entertainment, collectibles. I'm talking pictures, instruments. They have some really, really cool stuff. And I've been over to their auction house. It's right up here in New Hampshire. I mean, some of the stuff that they have is incredible. And our good friend Mike Hefner has one hell of a collection, doesn't he, Derek, of guitars?
Yeah, no, he has a great. I mean, his entertainment collection's pretty. So I just sent Joe a picture of me, and that's Charlie Sheen with Slash in the background in that portrait.
All right, so Derek, so Joe, now we can have your true thoughts.
Well, first off, I didn't know he was a lefty. I'll say that. I didn't know Derek was a lefty.
I didn't either. I just picked up the guitar and started playing, so I don't know what I am, to be honest. I just, started.
And I'll be honest, the hat looks odd. It looks like it's placed there. It doesn't even.
I know.
It doesn't look real. It looks like it's.
Yeah, he has a smaller. I obviously have a a large brain. So my head's a little bigger, or you can think another reason my head's bigger, but the hat doesn't fit me well. So I tried to get it on as far as I could. Lee Behrens can't see the picture, so
Lee will see it when the show
is it signed?
Yeah.
Is it what?
Is it signed? Is the hat signed?
No, it's not. I don't think Hef loves ever. Look, he'd take it signed, but he has a Eddie Van Halen guitar, but that was in a case. That was locked up. Otherwise, I would have grabbed the Eddie Van Halen guitar. That was super cool. But no, the collection's amazing, and I was there, so I decided I had to pose for a picture, and then I put it on Instagram.
See, when Rico was young,
empty bottles around his feet. That's good.
when Rico was young, his version of Guns N' Roses were the Crickets, right?
Oh, you wise guy.
So what are your thoughts on Guns N' Roses?
Good. I mean, they were excellent, but I like that photo. I think it's a great photo. But do you actually play the guitar?
No.
I have absolutely no talent whatsoever.
But that's good.
So, baseball cards is
something you like, and why not? Huh?
I was just posing for a picture for Instagram. That's all.
When I played,
you did not.
No, right. I have a question. Getting back to the collections, what if somebody has a bunch of cards from all different years, not so much vintage,
Commons?
Yeah, anywhere for, say the 60s to the 40s.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Should they get them authenticated?
That's a good question.
Should they get them all authenticated, or are there some that might be?
No, so we're the experts there. We would go through. Grading is a value-added service. Not every card is worth getting graded. And now that the grading companies are under $20, you can grade, there's still a lot of cards you shouldn't grade based on condition from the 60s.
Yeah.
Commons that are VG, VGX, or X, or what a regular collection is going to have in it, 3s or 4s, you're not grading them unless they're 52 high numbers or a tough series or star cards. There's still, grading used to be, when I was at a grading company, you're talking, you can get cards graded for $7. Grading over the last few years was as high as $80 and back down to 40. Now they're finally under 20. But it's still an expense, and you've got to be very careful of consigners that when they think they can go to, PSA or SGC directly, and they, get excited to grade a couple hundred cards. There is nobody that thinks their cards are ever overgraded. They always think they're undergraded, or they always think the grading company, everybody thinks their cards might be near mint when they're actually VGX or X.
Just to follow up, can they, because I came across a gentleman texted me, and he has a bunch of cards, a collection from somebody, and he wanted to know, should I send them all to get graded? Would it be
worth it?
Not only worth it. Say to send the cards to you, and say, so you would pick out which one should be graded.
That's a tough one, though, isn't it, Derek?
Well, not.
Yeah, we do this as grading experts here. I have a staff that goes through the collection, makes different lots. Very rarely, unless somebody has, a handful of T206s or something where you would grade every card. We don't even grade every T206.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. It's just not worth it to even pay $15-$20 to get every card graded. So odds are you would not grade every card under any circumstance.
Yeah.
All right.
Unless you just had a collection of Mickey Mantle cards, then you might want to grade every Mantle card.
So, Joe, I'm going to ask you this question. Then I'm going to ask this question to Lee when he comes on. Joe, as someone who is in the business, but had your own business, with the cards buying and selling, do you recommend cards that cannot be graded? Let's say they're VG to excellent commons from the 50s, 60s, 40s. Do you recommend something like eBay, selling them raw on eBay, or packaging them and in a lot of 8 or 10 or 12 on eBay?
Yeah, typically for lower grade stuff like you're talking about. The way we've always formatted those is in group lots. by particular brand or year. That's the way I found the best success. And to your point, we have been selling on eBay for many years, and we even think it's a better to not put duplication in there, like, so to make it like almost like a starter lot or starter set, because it seems to turn people off if there's duplication. If they know that they can get 20 or 50 or 100 or 150 different from one particular set, that seems to be the best way. And when we did that, we don't really sell that way anymore. We sell more individual graded cards on eBay. But speaking to that, we always did it. We tried to keep the grades similar too. We wouldn't put X-Mint cards in with VGX cards, or, we always tried to keep the grade consistent. That way, you're hitting a sweet spot for somebody that's building a particular style set.
Now, Joe, we were not able to get your image because of the technical difficulties that we had. And I know you're a collector, but there was one, you sent me an image. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what that image is and who it was and who you bought it from?
Oh, you're talking about from my own personal collection.
Correct.
Yeah. So yeah, I had sent you guys an image. We were talking about kind of some of our collecting habits and stuff, and I thought it would be neat to, because I don't even think Derek knows that I have this piece, but it's a 1972 college yearbook of Walter Payton's teammate, and it was given to Heritage by him, consigned by Heritage to him. And it's signed by Peyton in 1972. It's at the time in 2014 when I bought it, it was considered one of the most iconic Peyton signatures out there, one of the earliest. I don't know if anything earlier has surfaced, but the interesting thing was he signed it, and I'm gonna have to read my notes here because it's such a big signature. He signed around his picture, Spider-Man Peyton, Walter Monk Peyton II, Columbia, Mississippi. Which is a super cool autograph. And being from 1972, obviously he didn't go into the NFL till 76. So that's kind of one of the things that I like cool in my collection is early signature stuff. Nice. I think that stuff's cool. Pretty underrated.
Very cool piece.
I didn't know you had that. That's cool. I think I saw a picture of it and I was like, that's really cool, because he signed all these nicknames and what his buddies called him, and you don't see that stuff.
Hey, before we take a break, we're going to bring Lee in. We have I'm not going to say we have an announcement. Joe, you have an announcement. It seems as though the voters have won. Why don't you tell us about the 2026 National? Is it going to be at Fenway Park?
Drum roll, no. Nope, it's not going to make Fenway.
Damn.
So we'll just put that to bed right away. Get that. No, yeah. So yeah, that's one of the things we're happy to announce, and kind of part of our team. One of the things that we wanted to do was just kind of be a little more transparent as far as how the process works for the selection, for the location for the National, and we had a fantastic voter turnout. So for behind the scenes type of stuff, the way it's worked in the past is the voting for the location for the National was always done by paper ballot. You were mailed that with your dealer packet, and then it got mailed back in. And one of the things that Jimmy, Brian, and myself thought would make the most sense was the process for picking your dealer booth happens every year at the National, on Friday. By priority, you pick your dealer booth for the next city and location. So we added the element where you actually voted right there when you picked your booth. So that helped our voter participation exponentially. Like, I can't even tell you, but
that's
it went
huge.
Massively. We had the highest voter turnout ever for the location. So with that being said, the three cities finalists were Atlanta, Atlantic City, and Chicago. This is all for 2026 location because we picked 3 years out. And Chicago won the vote. So we made that public knowledge, I believe, yesterday on the NSCC social media platforms. So for the next 3 years after 2024 will be Cleveland, of course, and then 25, 26, and 27 will be Chicago Rosemont. So
think about Gibson's, baby. Think about Gibson's.
Yep.
Gibson's Steakhouse. Gibson's Steakhouse.
Gibson's Steakhouse.
Petrocelli is the only guy in the history of Gibson's that ate that whole strawberry shortcake.
I did not.
Ate the whole thing. All right, listen, we're going to take a quick break. We come back. Lee Behrens is going to be joining us. The four of us, we're gonna commiserate. We're gonna talk about the difference. Obviously, there's a difference between Sterling and there's a difference between Heritage, but they both have their customer base and strong niches. Hang in there, we'll be right back.
Pristine Auction is a family-owned and operated online auction specializing in autographed memorabilia, sports cards, coins, art, and collectibles. Since their founding in 2010, they've grown to 2 facilities in Phoenix, Arizona, totaling over 60,000 square feet. Jared Cavalier and an incredible staff of over 150 team members serve a very large customer base and enjoy every minute of it. By working with leading authentication companies, Pristine ensures all items are 100% authentic. In addition, third-party authenticators regularly travel to Pristine Auction to provide authentication services on site. Pristine Auction strives to operate its business in a way that's honoring to God, their families, and their customers. With a strong focus on speed, quality, and premier customer service, their mission is to be the leading online auction for every level of collector and fan. Pristine also works for Hope Sports and Identity Hoops International, traveling to Mexico to build houses for the less fortunate. Pristine Auction offers several online auction formats with thousands of auctions ending each day. For more information, go to pristineauction.com. That's Pristine Auction, the best in the business.
If you're a discerning collector interested in owning the most important pieces in the hobby, look no further than Leland's Auctions. The original sports auction and appraisal house, Leland's was established in 1985 by legendary Pioneer founder Joshua Leland Evans. And today, President Mike Hefner carries on the tradition. From the Tom Brady card and memorabilia collection to the famed Boston Garden auction to high-end card auctions from every major sport, Leland's has always maintained the highest standards. Go to Lelands.com and get your bid in. That's Leland's, the hobby's leading sports auction house for 4 decades.
It's often been said that championships are won on the practice field, and world records come only to those willing to work harder than everybody else. Heritage Auctions is the world's largest collectibles auctioneer because we believe that becoming the best is only an invitation to the challenge of remaining the best. This requires the skills of the hobby's top experts, capable of identifying and maximizing value for our consigners. It requires the most visited website in the industry, courting a global audience of collectors over 1.5 million strong. It requires a dedicated press department that expands our global reach far beyond the entrenched hobby marketplace. It's hard work, but a simple premise. Present the finest collectibles to the largest population of potential buyers, and world records will come. We invite all listeners to put the unmatched power of Heritage Auctions to work for you. Auction evaluations are always free, and our commission-based fee structure ensures that our interests are always aligned. The highest possible price for your collectibles. There will always be new world records to chase, so let's chase them together. Visit our website at ha.com and request your no-obligation review today.
Hi, this is Dan from Memory Lane Auctions, here to remind you that the renowned Memory Lane Collectibles Company has served as a beacon of light to the collecting community for the past several decades. Indeed, folks, it has been our utmost privilege and pleasure to provide the most enthusiastic collectors with an abundance of the finest sports cards and memorabilia for America's most coveted sports personalities via our world-class auctions. Whether you choose either a private sale transaction or the auction route, Memory Lane cordially invites you to reach out to us to maximize the value of your prized possessions. Also, it is not just sales that we pride ourselves on being the best of the rest, because if you are seeking a particular keepsake for your esteemed gathering, we will be relentless in our quest to find that special piece to fulfill your collecting dreams. So no time to wait. Reach out to us today for the purposes of capitalizing on our unparalleled marketing capabilities. Simply pick up the phone and dial 877-606-5263. That's 877-606-LANE, or find us on the World Wide Web at www.memorylaneinc.com. Now is the time for your valued consignment to ultimately become another one of Memory Lane's record-setting prices.
Hey, I'm Mike Petroselli.
If your company is looking for the best in marketing and promotional items, you'll hit a home run with Petroselli Marketing. With over 8,000 suppliers and 650,000 imprint-ready items, we can get your company the visibility it needs to get your maximum exposure. Whether it be office promotions, wearables, automotive, sports items, and everything in between, Petroselli Marketing can do it all. Our design staff will even work with you from concept to delivery and customize your products. At Petroselli Marketing Group, we will get your brand in front of your audience. Contact us at info@petrosellimkt.com or call us at 603-880-3202. That's Petroselli Marketing, where no dream is impossible.
For your next project, give Petroselli Marketing Group a call at 800-264-4294 or go to their website at petrosellimkt.com.
That's it?
That's it. It's my kid. My oldest son.
Wait a second. These Gax jerseys, they're beautiful. We got them from him.
Oh, they have got everything.
You know, Joe, just FYI, before we get to Lee, you may want to talk to Petroselli about the Philly Show National CSA, because he told me that they would be more than happy to donate 500,000 Petroselli marketing pens that you can give out at the show to when people walk in. Would you be interested in that?
Petroselli Marketing, I mean, we'd have his logo on there.
Can we hear Joe?
No.
Yeah, no, I'm here. Oh. Yeah, no. We need pens all the time. You know, the door prize tickets. You know, we'll take all the pens you got, Rico. Send them down. We're happy to market for you. We'll co-brand.
Can you pull some strings?
Yeah, maybe.
He'll send you 10.
No. All
right, let's bring in our good friend Lee Behrens from Sterling Sports Auction. Mr. Behrens, how are you, number one?
Good. Thanks for having me on again.
You know Joe and you know Derek?
Derek, he seems to like tag along every time I'm on the show. So
I do. I'm a follower.
That's what it is. Hey Lee,
I'm
I want
to of Lee Behrens.
Before we get into the auction, I want to ask you the question that I asked Derek and Joe. Now, you're a much smaller company than Heritage Auctions. So how do you do it with the question that Rico asked with collectors sending in raw cards? Instead of sending in one, would they send in a lot of them to you from the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and then you decide which ones you want and send the rest back? How do you typically do it?
yeah, since the grading fees have gone up so much in the last 3 or 4 years, I probably do 10% of what I used to do sending off to grading, just because, as Derek mentioned, we have a reputation. We can sell raw cards as is.
Right.
And they sometimes outperform the graded, actual graded cards. So to have the added expense of the grading, and the grading seems to have gotten much tougher than it was in the past. So it's just really, like he said, it's disappointing 9 times out of 10, all of a sudden what comes back. I thought I used to know how to grade pretty good, and I was always considered pretty tough. And this stuff is coming back, less than that. So it's kind of got to the point where, I'll just run them. Yes, there's some cards you need to go get in and get graded, but I'll either run a lot more cards raw than I did 3 or 4 years ago that I would have always sent off previously.
So if I send you a lot of 25 cards, and 3 of the cards, a couple of Hall of Famers or well-known players, what do? If you would have pulled those 3 out to get them graded, would you sell the remaining 22 as a lot in an auction?
I kind of do like what Joe said. You kind of theme it up. I mean, sometimes you have to put it in the quote unquote shoebox lot just because you want to sell everything, and some of it doesn't make any sense by itself. But you try to find a theme, whether it's by team or, year, company. Find a theme to put it together, and it helps to get a little higher run for it. And Joe had a lot of good points with running lots and stuff. I mean, if you can do them without duplicates, that definitely helps.
But would you guys put a non-graded card in an auction?
He does.
Oh, I
Let's just say-
constantly do.
Yeah, okay.
And it's a much higher percentage. Like if you go into the current auction right now, there's T206, Cy Youngs, Johnsons, all sorts of them. But you know what? They're par fair. You're not going to get anything but a 1 or a 1.5.
Right.
And you're not going to get any more or any less for it by spending the grading fee.
But keep in mind, though,
Yeah.
keep in mind, and we're going to talk about the auction in a minute. Keep in mind that, there is a big market for in the collecting world for those types of cards, because with all due respect to Derek, and again, with all due respect to Leland's and Memory Lane and the rest of them, a lot of people can't afford, again, we've always called it the 80-20 rule. A lot of people cannot afford even that PSA 2 Cy Young T206. They can, they may be able to afford it as a raw card and spend maybe $1,000 less. So there is a definite niche for that market. As a matter of fact, when I first started collecting 30 years ago, I was buying raw cards like that because I couldn't afford PSA graded cards at the time. I just couldn't. But anyway, let's talk about the auction. What are some of the highlights, Lee?
Some of the highlights we got, one of the kind of cool cards is it's the 1951 ringside panel with Rocky Marciano, which is a short print in there.
Very cool.
It's a little pop. We have a pop 2 of it's an all-star baseball package, Frank Chance. We have a nice variety of T206, ever popular Johnson portrait pitching, raw graded, Cy Young in a 4. This one's kind of unique. Hopefully you can see it. It's a variation with a comma after the N instead of just a dot. A tougher variation.
Who is that? Who's the player?
It's Rube Marquardt.
Oh, okay. I couldn't see.
Hall of Famer.
Yeah, good picture. Good picture.
Really nice. 34 Gaudi Gehrig.
Now, what's the grade on that card?
It's a 3.5, but it's a beauty. I mean, it's one of those cards that I don't know why it definitely should be stronger. Got a couple Jim Brown rookies. One PSA, one SGC. 59 Topps football set. And once again, the auction is full of high grade, low grade stuff. I mean, there's 8, 9s, and 10s in the auction, and there's your poor fares. So it really covers the whole gambit of collectors, what they can fit into.
We've always said that, that there's such a niche. It's guys like you and guys like Scott Russell from the Collector Connection. The card shops or the card dealers that are your size are such an important part of this entire hobby. Derek, agreed?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I also know, and Lee does a great job, and the main thing is too, and I'm sure Lee stands behind his cards. The key is when you're selling. So another reason some auction companies have to grade everything that they sell. We can sell raw T206s. We have graders here, and if we make a mistake, we stand behind it. There are a lot of cards that were trimmed in the 70s, in the 60s to fit in photo albums. Didn't have to be for nefarious, reasons. They just did it to put in photo albums when they were $1 a piece or $2 a piece. So you have to stand behind. There's cards with color added, white out on corners. There's black marker on 71s. There's all kinds of different alterations, erasing to make a card better centered. So I'm sure Lee has to be very careful when he sells a card that they may send it away to a grading company. And if it's, measures small, or there's a different edge on it, or you can see, color added, you have to stand behind your product you sell. And we do that at Heritage in our Sunday sales. We have more of the $100, $500, $1,000 lots under a couple $100, where we do sell raw cards in lower condition, maybe a handful of T206s, so that is a reason. But to my point is why some other companies have to get stuff graded, or why collectors want them graded. They want to make sure With the grading company, you have that. It's in a holder. They're slabbing it. They're saying, here's the grade. It's authentic. If nothing else,
Good
whether
point.
they got the grade right or wrong,
with
it's
autographs,
authentic.
right,
point. Absolutely.
Derek? Especially with autographs, you know.
With autographs, you definitely want to use. I mean, am not an autograph authenticator. I'm pretty good at some of them, but I am nowhere near. Sometimes we get something and I'm looking at it, I go, oh, that's not going to pass.
Yeah.
And it turns out to be a super early rookie Willie Mays signature that looks demonstrably different than what he signed in the last 30 years.
Yeah.
So, that's what those experts like Kevin Keating and, the other guys like Jimmy Spence, Steve Grad and those guys, they know what they're doing. I do not know autographs. I know cards. So technically, as Lee's point, I mean, I don't have to send, the reason I send out high grade cards for grading is simply because graded cards at the registry bring more money than selling them raw. But as Lee said, there are plenty of cards that will sell raw just as good. And it would be interesting if, I don't know, like when Lee, you can speak up here at any time too. Are you talking, can you sell that Gehrig? Now you said it was undergraded. I don't doubt that.
We've got about a minute, guys.
Would you grade it VGX if you were selling it, or would you grade it X or VGX? If you were selling that raw, what would you grade it?
Well, in what I was going to make a point of, I normally don't apply grades. I describe cards, but to me, I don't know why it wouldn't get at least a VGX. I think it'd get a little stronger. I mean, each of the corners are touched a little bit, and there's a centering issue.
Do you think if you graded that,
everything is so strong?
So I don't know, and this is where I feel like we can get close. I don't know where that number would be. Is it $5,000 or is it 500? But if I sell a Gehrig raw and graded VGX versus a PSA 4 or an SGC 4, how much different would it be? I still think it's worth paying the grading fee on Gehrig, Ruth, Cobb, etc. But I'm curious where that's gonna. I'm glad to see though more people selling cards raw. If you know what you're doing, Joe knows how to grade cards.
We're going to have to, Derek. We're going to have to continue this discussion. We are out of time.
Oh, did I start hogging the?
No, that's okay. No, Lee, when is your auction end?
Just push a button and I go.
Fun.
Thursday, September 21st. I got to get the initial bid in by 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to get an extended bidding. And once the extended bidding starts, the 15-minute rule applies to the whole auction, not just the items you bid on.
And your website address is? And by the way, that's tomorrow night that it ends. Your website?
SterlingSportsAuctions.com.
Mr. DRELICH, your website.
Yes, sir.
Well, you got about 400 websites. What were your key websites?
This weekend, PhillyShow.com.
PhillyShow.com.
22nd to the 24th.
You can see Derek and Joe there.
ECMSports.com too, no?
ECSM.
ECS. I always screw that up.
Sports marketing.
All right.
Yep. Everybody leaves out one letter.
I know that. Mr. Grady, you're going to be at the Philly Show, correct?
At the Philly Show. Yep.
All right. Do me a favor.
And we'll be displaying stuff coming up in our auction. And also, we have an auction ending next weekend, Friday and Saturday, for our big September card auction that's online right now at ha.com. Go to sports.
ha.com.
Nice.
All right, guys. We're out of time.
Great,
it has been such a pleasure. We love you guys. You know what you guys mean to us. I think you guys all get it. You understand what we're all about, and that's what it's all about, fun and the hobby. With that being said,
Checks in the mail, Joe. They're going to pay us for this.
Lee, Joe, and Derek, have a great week. And to our viewers and listeners, happy collecting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.